What is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Back here with some more Resident Evil gameplay for you. And today I'm going to be having a little bit fun about talking about some of the worst bad takes I've seen so far in Resident Evil Requiem, especially after we had the whole gameplay demo shown off at the Gamescom and as well as the other trailers. So without further ado, let's get into this, because some of these things are just so bad, they're laughably bad. But unfortunately, that's one thing about the Resident Evil community. It's not hard to find really, really bad takes that do not take that much to disprove how just stupid they are. So let's get right into it. The first one is, where are the guns? Why do we have no weapons? Why can't we fight against our pursuers? And is the whole Grace segments just the hide and seek simulator segments? And is the Leon / whatever OG character they put in there, is that all the action segments? Alright. I'm not even going to go over the whole thing that we've already seen a small gameplay segment. I think it was way back in June from a developer's interview where they had a segment of gameplay where Grace was holding a gun. I'm not even going to go over in the demo where you can actually pick up some handgun bullets. I'm not even going to go over the fact that you have the little D-pad weapon wheel that you obviously in other Resident Evil games can quick select your weapons when you find them and equip them. I'm not even going to go over those obvious things. I think that's just plain stupid to even mention that. Like, the thing I'm going to mention is the whole hide and seek simulator, because every time someone hates something, they always got to insert whatever word simulator, because everything's a simulator nowadays. It's a hiding simulator, it's a walking simulator, it's a talking simulator, it's a press button simulator, it's play the damn game simulator. Why don't you do it once in a while? But is the game going to be hiding, especially all the Grace parts, and whoever the other playable protagonist is going to be all the action parts? Name me one Resident Evil game where you hide half the time. No, better yet, 25% of the time. No, better yet, 15% of the time. No, better yet, we'll say 5% of the time. That'll be the highest I'm willing to go. Yeah, because it doesn't really exist. 5% at the most. And most of these segments, they're very, very short. And a lot of times they happen usually in the beginning of the game. You'll once in a while have a segment maybe thrown in the middle if you play as like a character for a short time, like how they had a Sherry segment or an Ashley segment, but that's something else. But in terms of this, like for one of the actual main characters, yes, these segments are put in usually very early to put you in a situation where you're very uncomfortable, where you don't really have a means to defend yourself and you have to avoid the supposed unstoppable enemy for a short time. It's how you build up the whole attention of the enemy, whoever it is that's pursuing you, as well as a means to get a little bit of control with the game and figure out, what you're good at, what you're not, as you eventually progress through the game. But after you get through these segments, you obviously are going to get weapons. You're obviously going to eventually have to fight against your pursuer. This is just something to build a survival horror tense atmosphere. This isn't something we've never seen before. This isn't something completely brand new. Like they did it with Jack Baker in Resident Evil 7. They did it with a lot of enemies and stuff like that. Like sometimes, your best bet isn't necessarily to fight. In this case, you can't fight, but sometimes you just have to avoid to preserve your resources, or in this case, just avoid it altogether. This isn't something brand spanking new. I don't know why people think the rest of the game is going to be like that. There's no Resident Evil game that's ever done that before, period, for a long piece of time. Not to mention, these segments, once you realize how they work, you'll probably take maybe a couple minutes to get through it. Look at any Resident Evil game. Look at the older ones, or the newer ones, wherever. Probably more the older ones because they're more efficient in demonstrating this. Your first playthrough is obviously your longest, but once you know how everything works, where all the items are, you can fastly navigate these things and beat these games in under an hour if you know what you're doing, and it's not that hard to do. But obviously the first time, it's going to be a lot longer and a little bit more tedious because you don't know the tricks to the trade. But I thought that was obvious, but apparently not. The next thing I keep hearing is that, where's the action? This looks boring. Okay, I don't see how playing a survival horror game is boring, especially because a lot of people say, oh, it looks boring. There's a difference between watching someone play, because I'll be honest, watching people play video games is boring to me. That's why I want to play the games. But with survival horror games, more than any other genre of video game, you can't get the feeling of them by watching people play. You got to have the control in your hands. So I guarantee you, a lot of these people that say it's boring, I guarantee you put that control in their hands, and I guarantee you they wouldn't be saying it's boring. And the problem with the whole action thing, as I'll get into later on in this video, you say that now, you want the action, but as soon as you get the action, you're going to complain about it. So it didn't matter if they showed the horror, you complain about it. And they showed the action, you're going to complain about it. So what difference does it make? They must just do what they want to do, or maybe have a mixture of both. You're going to complain about it regardless, so I just have them do whatever the hell they want to do in the first place. The last thing I want to touch up on, and I knew this was going to come, but it's coming faster than initially thought, and that is with Grace as a protagonist, because I've heard Grace is basically lame, a lot like a Velma 2.0, or she's just a scared little girl. Who wants to play as that? This is terrible. Where's Leon in all this? Like, no one wants to play as her. And I thought this was going to happen when Leon, or whoever the OG is shown off to be in this game, was going to happen, but no. Apparently it's happened even before then, because apparently Grace is a terrible main protagonist. She didn't have a chance to show off what she can do, but she's already terrible in a survival horror game. So we were getting mad at a character being scared for being in a survival horror game. Yeah, make it make sense. But let's analyze this a little bit. You know, scared little girl. Okay, so Grace, this is her first time in these situations, alright? She's never been in a situation like this in her life. Not to mention that Grace is someone who has a lot of problems already. You know, we saw even before she became an FBI analyst, is that, you know, she had a lot of like awkward situations with her mother. She's very socially awkward, introverted, seemingly has a lot of panic attacks, and this stuff really seems to stress her out and take a lot out of her. Alright, and that was before she went in there at the start of the game. Now, she basically, we haven't seen how it happens, but she basically went back to the hotel, back to where her mother supposedly died, and basically, I guess, was taken against her will and hooked upside down where her blood is being drained, and wakes up in an area she is not familiar with, all by herself, with no weapons, nothing to defend herself with, and she encounters the monster that a lot of us speculate could either be her mother, or maybe it's Lisa Trevor, or something else. But that big monstrosity that's huge and moves through the ceilings and walls, similar to how like a xenomorph moves. But you get the point. Yeah. But, you know, it's a problem because she's scared, she's whimpering, and then the whole course of her falling down. Because a lot of people get mad, oh, the falling down mechanic, that's going to get really annoying and stuff. We're getting mad at things being annoying in a survival horror game when things are purposely supposed to be annoying to make it a pure survival horror game. I mean, survival horror games are supposed to have annoyances, you know. It's a struggle to survive. It shouldn't be easy. But I want to go into the whole scared and falling down thing, because that's the funniest part to me, because it makes me wonder if these people have ever played a Resident Evil game. Because if you want to get mad at Grace for that, then I guess you got to get mad at JillValentine as well. I guess JillValentine was just a scared little girl as well, right? Oh, you don't remember? Yeah, I know. Revisionist history, right? You know, that's the thing these guys don't want to let you know, but let you know a little secret. In a game that needs no introduction, Resident Evil Remake, even though the original one is great too, but I think the remake does a better job of showcasing this, Jill is basically a scared little girl as you could describe. She is someone who, unlike Grace, is actually a well-trained individual. She's someone who's well-trained, has a lot of training under her belt. She is a STARS member, for goodness sakes. But she was not trained for the undead, similar to how the people who encountered the undead for the first time, you know, their reaction should be pure fear, because who would ever be prepared to see something like that for the first time? I love the whole cutscene where Jill basically watches her teammate Joseph get ripped to shreds by the Cerberus and is completely just horrified and just basically complete fear where she couldn't even really do a damn thing. And if it wasn't for Chris, she would have died right there. But I just love how her eyes look, just pure fear and terror. And that continues on in the mansion, because multiple times you see Jill, you know, running for her life, especially when the first zombie appears. She runs back to Barry. We see it when the one zombie comes to get her when you get that defensive item. And hell, even Chris gets on the fall down action where they fall down and stuff. But then you also see it later on where Jill is basically falling down from the one zombie in the tub, which begs the question, why should we even pull the drain in the first place? Then it proceeds to throw up later on. My point being, this isn't the scenes of someone who's really competent or knows what's going on or full of confidence. This is the actions of someone who's terrified out of their minds. They're well trained, but the fear has completely gotten them in these situations, and they're encountering them for the first time. And they react in a way that I can honestly believe. It's one reason why I actually vibed so much more with Jill than Chris in the first Resident Evil. Jill felt like a more believable protagonist. Isn't that ironic, though? It's because of the fearful situations that I emphasize and like Jill a lot more, not the other way around. But now people are arguing, oh, well, because Grace acts like a believable person who doesn't have the training. I know she's FBI, but by the looks of it, it seems more like FBI behind a desk, not out in the field as a field agent. I mean, she's not apparently Agent Scully yet, but you get the point. And maybe they'll actually show that in a plot point why they put her out there in the first place, which I think is something they're just keeping covered up. But my point being, let's just say it was the other way around, guys. Let's just say that Grace was a fully trained, she was Agent Scully going out there to boot or something. Or let's just say she was, Sarah Connor for Terminator 2. Then the argument complaint, oh, it's too action, where's the horror, where's the fear? And that's what goes back to the whole thing of, oh, where's the action? Oh, it's too much action. Where's the horror? Go back to its roots. Oh, it's too much horror. Let's go back to action. Let's go back to horror. Let's go back to action. It's just over and over and over again. Make up your mind. Do you people even know what you want? No, you don't. You just like to complain about whatever. And it doesn't matter what you ask for, you get it. Then you just change the argument to something else. It's like you just want to argue for the sake of arguing. At the end of the day, Grace is going to start out probably pretty incompetent, scared, and terrified. I think what will be a cool thing for the falling down mechanic is if she starts out that way, but over time as she gains more confidence, she changes. Maybe not just her falling down, but also her stances, as well as how she holds weapons when she does eventually hold weapons. But if you still don't like the falling down, you don't have to play it that way. If you play in first person, you won't fall down. That happens only in a third person view, so in case you didn't know, you know. Jill Valentine didn't start out the competent person that we know and love her today. I mean, she didn't get to Resident Evil 3. She had to go through Resident Evil 1 before she got to Resident Evil 3. And that's where she stands as an iconic character because of her feats she pulled off in Resident Evil 3. It's why so many people look at that as the pure definition of Jill Valentine and being the iconic survival horror protagonist that she is. So why are we expecting someone like Grace, who doesn't have all that training, to be like that? As I mentioned earlier, with Sarah Connor, Grace is more like Sarah Connor from T1. But obviously she has to go through T1 before she ever gets to the point of being T2. She has to go through her own crucible. I don't understand why this is something that's a problem. Isn't that how all survival horror protagonists start out? They go through a whole terrifying incident which they're not prepared to deal with. They struggle to survive. They fall down. They get knocked down. They get scared out of their minds. But they struggle and they survive. And when they do survive, they come out stronger because of it. What's the old saying? What doesn't kill you, make you stronger. Why this is apparently a problem in a survival horror game, I have no idea. So all I hope is that eventually by the end of this whole journey, people will look at Grace and think, hey, she has potential to be a really cool, awesome, memorable character, and that's the best thing I can hope for. But all these takes they kind of numb my brain sometimes. I'm not saying there isn't honest criticisms of things that I hope for. Most of my criticisms are not things that I've already seen, because I've always knew the gameplay was going to be fun and entertaining. It's more story things for me personally, but that's for another discussion for another day. But from what we all seen and seeing some of these bad takes, it just makes me wonder if these people have ever played a Resident Evil game in their life, or just basically just living off the popularity of the name. But as I like to say, that is my opinion. I want to hear your guys' opinion. What's the worst takes you've heard about this game? And what's an honest, actual criticism that actually makes sense that you can come up with? Let me know down in the comment section down below. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. And hopefully I can see you guys back next one. Thanks, and I'll see you all later. Peace.